chanting of the name of Hare, Narada began shouting in such a manner that the demons immediately hid themselves, trembling in fear that Narasimha had made his appearance. So this is Narada Muni shouting in great ecstasy. Stretching the body, which is a little bit strange. We don't usually think of that as much of an activity, but sometimes, I guess, in great ecstasy, they stretch out their body a little bit. Narada, blissfully singing the names of Krishna on his veena with a happy mind, stretched his body in a most amazing way and completely broke his sacred thread. Roaring like an elephant, hearing the sound of the veena, Shiva, mind excited, bellowed in such a way that it destroyed the demons and gave the highs of bliss to the devotees at every moment. Laughing loudly. I think that the creeper of devotion in the heart of the servant of Krishna has been blossoming for a long time, because the multitude of flowers in the form of this lovely laughing is shaking his trembling lips. Some devotees beginning to laugh. It's like flowers. Hiccups. Today, Radha, afflicted by transformations brought on by love for Krishna, is afflicted with hiccups while chanting his name incessantly, whirling around. Oh, my friend, dear flute, Krishna, on the pretext of blowing you, is certainly producing a gale, which is a big wind, for his flute. Otherwise, how does your sound alone cause the beautiful women of Vraj to whirl around, moving around as if by a wind, like that? Yawning. O Radha, when the ocean of all hearts, Krishna, who has appeared to give full bliss to the earth, arrives before you, it is astonishing that your lotus face shows lethargy by yawning. I suppose it could also mean a sign of maybe disregard. Okay, I'm tired of you. And that they're very conscious then, not too interested, pretends not to be interested in Krishna. Singing. Moon of Gokul, de Radha, whose mind is possessed by the beauty of the Sri Raga, which is one of the ragas, the musical ragas, Sri Raga, or the zeal of love, is singing a new song about you. Her friends have become like stones, and the stones have melted. That's singing. Heavy breathing. When the monsoon arrived with colorful clothing, the Chataki bird named Lalita became increasingly thirsty. Seeing the form of that black cloud called Krishna, and driven away by the strong breathing of the monsoon wind mixed with the rain, she became disturbed. So this is breathing, heavy breathing, which was like a wind almost. Disregard for others. Just see the unlimited love these women have developed for Lord Krishna, the spiritual master of the entire universe. This love has broken their very bonds of death, their attachment to family life. Drooling. I think that Narada, bitten by the scorpion of prema, is suffering in pain because he has fallen into a motionless state and saliva is dripping from his mouth. So these are the anubhavas. There's like a limited, but when we get into the Western section, with that book with each rasa described in detail, then the anubhavas become quite distinct. The anubhavas of Shanta are different from the ones in Dasya. The ones in Dasya are different from the ones in Sakya, and the ones in Sakya are different from the ones in Vatsalya. The ones in Madhurya are different from the others, so they have their unique bhavas. Anubhavas. So one of the anubhavas of Sakya is playing with Krishna. They play games. They wrestle with each other. They herd the cows. So those are anubhavas, very conscious activity to express their friendship. Vatsalya rasa. Mother Yasoda likes to show her affection for Krishna by dressing him, feeding him, bathing him, decorating him, etc. Similarly with the other people who are Vatsalya rasa. And Madhurya rasa, of course, is the gopis, so they have the particular types of activity, making garlands for him or whatever like this. So all sorts of activities. They're all anubhavas, but they're particular for each rasa. So that's described later on. So these are the general ones. probably following after Bharata Muni's material analysis of the rasa and its components, etc. So that's quite simple, I think. And then we go on to the next one. Sattvika bhavas. Okay. So these are the unconscious elements. Of course, we will think about how do these things like fainting, how is that part of rasa? But we see that the sattvika bhavas actually express a very deep emotion. It could be fear, a negative emotion, or it could be a positive emotion. And when that manifests, sometimes unconscious things happen. And this creates, let's say, some drama within the particular pastime. If the gopis faint, and this causes a big disturbance for everybody. Also, similarly, in material dramas, they have dialogue, but then sooner or later, if the emotions are very high, then they do extreme activities like fainting, crying, whatever like this. So these are the sattvika bhavas, which indicate extreme emotional states. So the actors actually have to convey, they can't just state I'm angry or whatever, they have to show it somehow. So they may show it by color of their face getting very red, eyes getting red, like that, or trembling like this. So they have to show that inner emotional state somehow, and it's expressed through these involuntary actions. For the actors, he's thinking about how to do it, but if it's actual, then it would be involuntary. So they convey that inner, strong inner emotion. When the heart becomes overwhelmed by ratis or bhavas in relation to Krishna, either directly or indirectly, we're going to call this sattva. So that means the inner state of being overwhelmed in relation to Krishna. The transformation to arise solely from this sattva, this internal emotion, is called the sattvika bhavas. That's the transformations that happen, like this. So that's the internal bhava. And then we get the external manifestations of that bhava. Anubhavas are external also, so sometimes they're classed together. Anubhavas and sattvika bhavas are classed together, but they're a little different because this arises from an internal emotion, and then the external manifestation is completely involuntary, where there's some voluntary element in the anubhavas, even though there's some emotion, it's not so intense, and then there's external manifestations. This is a little technical. We get three types of sattvika bhavas: snigdha, digdha, and ruksha. This gets very confusing in the nectar devotion. All these terms, a little confusing for people what's happening here, but these are just different types of the sattvika bhava. The ruksha is actually false; it's not real. Like if a kamsa turns red, it looks like a sattvika bhava. Well, it's not based upon a positive sthaya bhava with Krishna. It's a secondary part. So therefore, it's not of much value, not considered of much value, because all the rasas ultimately depend on a positive relation with Krishna, even the secondary rasas. So if a anger will manifest in Arjuna, or in Cowherd Boy, or Radharani, okay, it's not ruksha. It's one of the direct or indirect sattvika bhavas, because in relation to Krishna. So we have snigdha, digdha, and ruksha. So snigdha was direct, that it's related to a primary rati or a secondary rati. So we have the five primary ones: Shanta, Dasya, Sattva, Madhurya, and then we have the secondary ones like Hasya, Virya, Adbhuta, anger, Krodha, and Vibhatsa, disgust, like this. Those are secondary. So the emotion arises from primary or secondary rati. and then it has its external manifestation. So this is from a primary Rati. Radha, whose teeth were whiter than the kunda flower, that's a jasmine flower, while making an excellent garland of kunda flowers from a kunda, heard the sweet song of the flute. She became stunned. So being stunned, stumble is one of the things. You get paralyzed, you can't move. So because of her primary Rati, that is her Madhurya Rati for Krishna, when she heard the flute song, then she became like that. So it's Satvika Bhava, being stunned, arising from primary Rati. Secondary Rati, when Krishna, the rain cloud for the Chataka birds of her eyes, was brought to Mathura, Yasoda, turning red-faced in anger, began to scold Nanda Maharaj with a choked voice. In this example, the change of color and the choked voice of Yasoda have been caused by the secondary Rati of anger. Yeah? So this is the secondary one, not a primary one. Another little bit negative, it's anger. But it's all in relation to Krishna. She gets angry because Krishna is God, so it's related to Krishna, her affection for Krishna. And then she's angry at Nanda Maharaj and starts scolding him. And choked voice is one of the Satvika Bhavas. Can't speak properly. Change of color, okay. Turning red or whatever, black or white, whatever, that's also a Satvika Bhava. Well, that's quite cool. And we have indirect, this is the digda, indirect cause, not a primary or secondary Rati. When the heart of a person who possesses genuine Rati is overcome by an emotion other than the primary or secondary Rati, and if this emotion appears along with the genuine Rati, it is called digda satvika bhava. Fear arising from a dream, and then there's satvika bhava, shaking of the body. One time Yasoda, while dreaming at night, saw the huge body of Putana rolling on the ground in her house. That's in her dream. Her body began shaking. Then, in great agitation, she began to search for Krishna. So the satvika bhava is trembling of the body, and it happened because of a dream, which isn't even real. Then we have the false one, ruksha satvika bhava. Apparent satvika bhava is similar to those of persons possessing rati, appearing in persons without real rati, through astonishment or bliss caused by hearing about this sweet and astonishing Lord. So these are very indirect. They don't have that level of rati. They could be people who are sadhakas, people in the material world. They get, looks like satvika bhavas, but they're not in bhava or prema. So the rati is not really developed. So it can be like that. Or it can be, of course, demons, etc. So, these are the satvika bhavas: paralysis, you can't move, perspiration, sweating, hair standing on end, choking of the voice, trembling, changing color, tears, and fainting. These are the general ones. There's a few extra ones. In Vatsalya Rasa, the extra one is milk flowing from the breasts of Mother Yasoda. Milk flows out of her breast when she sees Krishna. That's a satvika bhava for Vatsalya Rasa. So the first one is called paralysis or stamba. So, the heart experiences some deep emotion. This affects the pranas in the body, and they get all agitated. This affects the earth element in the body, the most gross element, and this causes paralysis of the body. So it has a connection with the elements, this one. Tears. So we get some emotion that affects the pranas, affects the water element of the body, and then tears come out because of water. Perspiration and color change. The heart gets affected, the pranas get affected, it affects the fire element. It's all disturbed. And then you get perspiration and change of color. Disturbing fire element is agitated. Fainting. Heart gets disturbed by emotions, affects the pranas, ether element gets affected. Akash. And then fainting takes place. Here standing on end, trembling, and choking of the voice. The heart gets deeply affected, affects the pranas, affects the air element. And then we get here standing on end, trembling, and choking of the voice. So they said to have a relationship with the different elements of the body. Now we can ask, of course, all of the associates of the Lord don't have any material elements in them. This could only refer to some of the material world. So of course, in the material world, and that would be correct analysis of in material rasa and environments, we can say air element will cause hair standing on end, trembling, and choking, etc. We can't really apply that to the spiritual world, but we can say in the spiritual world they don't have material air, fire, but they do have bodies, they do have senses, they do have pranas, they do have a heart, not material. So similarly, they have material elements, so to speak, to get affected. So it's similar to the material world, but not material. But the same things, similar things are there in the spiritual body. The sattvika bhavas produce intense disturbance both externally and internally. The wise call the disturbance to the body, that's the external aspect, the anubhava aspect of the sattvika bhava. Like we had the anubhavas that were actually very visible, like dancing, singing. And the disturbance to the heart internal, the vyabhachari aspect of the sattvika bhava. So the emotional aspect is called the vyabhachari aspect, and external is called the anubhava aspect of the sattvika bhava. Like this, two factors, internal and external disturbance. Vyabhachari and anubhava aspects. So, now we go back to paralysis again, stamba, you can't move. What is the cause? Joy, fear, astonishment, disappointment, indignation. Many of these are vyabhachari bhavas. Fear, of course, becomes a secondary rati, and it's also a vyabhachari bhava. And then become more intense, it becomes a rati. But so they can be the cause of these stoma. So what is the definition? Immobility of the action senses and knowledge gathering senses. Mind is still active, so inability to see properly, etc., and to move properly with your feet and your hands, etc. However, the mind is still aware of things. So this will distinguish it from fainting, where the mind also goes blank, and you can't recollect anything. So here you're still conscious, but you can't move, and your senses don't operate properly. The damsels of Vraja, after pastimes of laughter, humor, and exchanges of glances, used to follow them with their eyes, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. So they couldn't move their bodies to sweep the floor or milk the cows or whatever chores they had to do. They were still conscious, but couldn't move because of their love for Krishna. Perspiration arises from joy, fear, and anger. Anger and fear become secondary ratis. And joy, of course, is part of one of the vyabhachari bhavas. And the body becomes all down. That's the definition of perspiration. O Radha with joyful eyes, why are you deriding the heat of the sun and emanating such an amiable nature? I understand that you have been pierced by the arrows of love, for you're perspiring on seeing lotus-eyed Krishna in front of you. So rather than making an excuse, I'm perspiring because the sun is very hot. it's because of Krishna in ecstasy. Standing of hairs on end. Standing of hairs on end takes place from astonishment, joy, enthusiasm, and fear. And the hairs stand on end, and then the thrill goes through the body. Yasoda became astonished at seeing the heavenly, middle, and lower planetary systems within the mouth of Krishna when he was beginning to crawl about. The creeper of her body began to blossom with hairs standing on end. So often when the hair standing is compared to be like a tree or something, and the buds coming up, sticking out. Choking of the voice. Distortion of the voice is called svara veda. It arises from sorrow, astonishment, anger, joy, and fear. It causes convulsions in speaking. O Queen of Braja Yasoda, please personally take Krishna from the chariot in front of you, which is going off to Mathura. Though I, Radha, had made her friends weep by giving up bashfulness in front of elders and uttering half of these words in a choked voice. So though the gopis were supposed to hide their love for Krishna, Radha could not help herself, and she was begging Yasoda to stop Krishna from going. And choked voice. Trembling. Quivering of the limbs due to extreme fear, anger, or joy is called nepatu, or trembling. When Shankachuta, with increasing display of his prowess, stretched out his hand to grab Radha, she cried out, O son, King of Raja, because of fear her whole body began to shake. Changing of color. Change of a person's complexion due to grief, anger, or fear is called Vaivarnya, or change of color. When the inhabitants of Raja were protected by Krishna, the enemy of Baka, as he lifted the huge mountain casually, the face of Indra turned black. This indicates fear was mine. And so when Krishna displayed his powers, that Indra understood that Krishna was more powerful than him, and his face turned black in fear. It's called Vaivarnya. Tears. Where water flows from the eyes out of joy, anger, or grief is called tears. Tears generated out of joy are cool. Tears generated out of anger are warm. Fainting. Pralaya, or fainting, refers to absence of action of the body and absence of mental functions which distinguish self and objects. This arises from either happiness or distress. It is characterized by falling on the ground. The gopis entirely stopped their sensory activities and became fixed in meditation on Krishna. They lost all awareness of the external world, just like those who attain the platform of self-realization. So we see in the Bhagavatam, in describing the various devotees of the 10th canto, we get many Satvika Bhavas described. We're not quite aware of it. These are all from Krishna's pastimes. We'll see that if we analyze the Bhagavatam, we point out this is a Satvika Bhava, this is an Anubhava, etc. And it shows the intense emotions of the people of Vrindavan. So the Satvika Bhavas are due to intense emotions, and they cause external manifestations of bhava. They're also maybe weaker or stronger. So they're classified into these four groups. Dhumayanta, or smoky, is the weakest. We get a little more intense Satvika Bhavas because of more intense emotion. It's called luminous, or jwalita, lit up. Deepta becomes brilliant. The Satvika Bhavas are very obvious, and more of them. And then Deepta, very brilliant. They're very strong. So according to the persons and their emotions, then we get weaker or stronger. So obviously a person who has very intense love for Krishna will often show or snigdha, that was the indirect things were, and the ruksha one, which was very indirect, from Dhumayita, and Jwalita luminous is snigdha, adipta is snigdha, and udipta is snigdha. Manifests slightly for a short period, sometimes with another sattvic bhava, and can be hidden. So it's not very strong, so you can suppress it. The female relatives whose eyes were flooded with tears out of anxiety for Krishna came out of the palace, but they stopped their tears. They feared that tears would cause misfortune at the time of departure. So they could stop the tears. So this is a weak form of the sattvic bhava. That's called Dhumayita. This is the Jwalita, more a little bit stronger. When 2 or 3 of the sattvic bhavas appear very clearly and can be concealed only with difficulty, they're called Jwalita sattvic bhavas. So you can suppress them with difficulty. When the sound of your flute comes from the forest and arrives at my ears, my hands begin to shake, and I cannot quickly pluck the gunja berries. My eyes become filled with tears, and I cannot immediately recognize the peacock feather. My 2 thighs become paralyzed, and I cannot easily walk 1 step. So we get a whole series of sattvic bhava manifesting. But in spite of the fact, she could still pick the gunja berries. And in spite of her having tears, she can eventually recognize the peacock feather of Krishna. And even though she's paralyzed, she can walk a little bit. So it's can repress her bhavas to some degree. Stronger one, dipta, brilliant sattvic bhava. When 3, 4, or 5 sattvic bhavas appear strongly and cannot be concealed, they're called dipta sattvic bhavas. Where Narada saw Krishna appear before him, he lost control of his body. Due to trembling of his body, for a long time he was unable to play his veena, and due to choked voice, he was unable to recite verses of praise. Because his eyes were filled with tears, he could not see Krishna. So these are irrepressible ones. He has tears, trembling of his body, and choked voice. And this is stronger, udipta sattvic bhavas. But 5, 6 are all sattvic bhavas, that's 8 of them, manifest at once in the most extreme form. They're called udipta sattvic bhavas. So obviously the emotion is very strong there. And of course these can appear in one person. They could have a mild form, and then a stronger one, and then a very strong one, like Radha was showing some weaker ones which she can suppress. But then there's other ones that she cannot suppress at all, and then become udipta. O Krishna, wearing yellow cloth today, the inhabitants of Gokula are covered in perspiration out of separation from you. Their limbs are paralyzed and their body hairs are standing on end. In distress, they converse in choked voices. They have become faded in complexion due to the extreme heat of separation, and they have become wet with a profuse flow of tears. They are now repeatedly fainting out of separation. Here we get all the bhavas manifested. This is a stronger form. When all the udipta sattvic bhavas appear in Mahabhava, they are called sudipta sattvic bhavas. All the sattvic bhavas attain their highest state in Mahabhava. And this is the gopis get this Mahabhava. So they have the extreme emotions for Krishna, and consequently the extreme sattvic bhavas. So we get sattvika bhava. In the first part of the work, that is the Eastern section under bhava, then Rupa Goswami mentions the bhava-vas, in which people will show ecstatic symptoms like crying and fainting. But it's not real. It's not vas. They haven't got stage of Baba. They don't understand Baba. They haven't seen Krishna. It may be really artificial, fake, acting, facade, yes, and crying, whatever. Or it could be a very sentimental person who's just beginning sadhana and then they cry or whatever. So this is called abhas. Rati abhas bhav, sattvic bhav, symptoms which appear to be sattvic bhavas generated from rati abhas, described previously, arise in people desiring liberation. So they don't obviously desire liberation, they really can't see Krishna and have a real style bhava for Krishna. So this is called rati abhas, that stage. It's not real bhava. But they do display symptoms. So this is the abhas, sattvika abhas, due to rati abhas. The bhava is false, and then the sattvika bhava they show is false, not real. When a person living in Varanasi glorified the qualities of Hare repeatedly in the assembly of sannyasis, his hair stood on end and tears moistened his cheeks. So it may appear that he's very genuine because he's got tears and his hair standing on end, which you can't really fake so much. But problem is, he's in an assembly of sannyasis and Mayavadis in Varanasi. So he doesn't really believe in the form of Krishna. So how could he get Bhava and actually see Krishna? So it's not genuine, in other words. Maybe material sentiments that he's getting these symptoms. When a shadow or an abhas of joy, astonishment, or other emotions appears in the heart of a person who is soft by nature, sentimental, the heart is said to have developed a state of sattva-bhavas. From this state of sattva-bhavas arise symptoms similar to sattvika bhavas. You could have some sentimental nature, and then without having a vision of Krishna at all, then you can have the sattva-bhavas. When an aged person, expert in Mimamsa scriptures, heard the pastimes of Krishna, he became joyful in his heart and his hair stood on end. So Mimamsa scriptures probably refers, it can be either, it could be the Jnana Mimamsa, the Uttara Mimamsa, Vedanta philosopher, or it could be the Purva Mimamsa, which are the Kamakandi philosophers. In each case, they're not devotees of the Lord. Hearing the pastimes, so that's good. But they can't really develop bhava if they've got these false ideas about heavenly planets and liberation. So therefore, out of sentiment, they may have some joyful heart and hair standing on end, but it's not real. It's not the real sattvika bhava. We could say there is maybe some sentimentality because there is joy in his heart. Okay, but even that joy is not real because he doesn't appreciate the form of the Lord ultimately. He's a Karmakandi or a Mayavadi. There's something called nisattva. When a person has a hard heart and practices exhibiting the sattvika bhavas without even a touch of emotion, the appearance of tears or other symptoms are called nisattva. That's nothing, it's not even a sentiment. A material sentiment is there. It's just an imitation completely. It's a hard-hearted person, an atheist or a Mayavadi or whatever, just practices and does that. And so that's called nisattva. Then we have another form here, Pratipa Sattvika Abhas. Pratipa means the enemy. Sattvika Bhava, Sattva-bhavas within enemies of Krishna, generated from anger or fear is called Pratipa Sattvika Abhas. So Kamsa or others can show anger and then they may turn red or they tremble or whatever. So this is a sattva abhas caused by enemies. With red lower lip and trembling upper lip, Kamsa's face appeared like the sun, red with anger. So there's no basis of a positive relationship with Krishna at all. And consequently, it's not a real sattvika bhava, it's a sattva bhavas. Okay, so that's the Sattviga Bhavas. Okay. This is a little long. Oh, it's long. Where are we? Okay. This is a short one. Okay. So now we come to Vyabhachari Bhavas. They're called Vyabhachari Bhavas, which means unsteady. They're basically wandering about, so to speak. Since they move, Sharanti, against the Sthayi Bhava, while assisting it in a distinctive way. So we get V here. And Abhi, or Abhimukkhena. So they assist it. At the same time, they kind of move against the main center. It's called Vyabhachari Bhavas. The Vyabhachari Bhavas reveal themselves by words, by eyebrows and other bodily parts, and by external actions, anubhavas, which arise from overwhelming emotion. So, since they set in motion, samcharayanti, the course of the Sthayi Bhava, they're called samchari bhavas. So they stimulate the Sthayi Bhava. All the Vyabhachari Bhavas, rising and falling like waves in the sweet ocean of the Sthayi Bhava, increase the Sthayi Bhava and then merge into the Sthayi Bhava. So that it's based on the Sthayi Bhava, like Madhurya or Sakya. It arises and then disappears again into the Sthayi Bhava. So it's connected to the Sthayi Bhava. And there are 33 of these. Actually, Rupa Goswami analyzes each one, gives a definition of each one, and gives examples of each one, so this way it becomes quite long, but I'll just list them. So we have self-disgust, remorse, thinking oneself unqualifiedness, danya, debility, weakness, decrease of ojas, fatigue from physical exertion, rapture, which is a type of joy, pride, apprehension or worry, sudden fear, confusion of the mind, insanity, or extreme confusion, epilepsy, sickness, loss of internal awareness, death-like symptoms, sloth, laziness, indecision, shame, concealment, remembrance, actually remembrance of scripture, conjecture, like, is it like this, is it like that, doubt, like questioning things, pondering, chinta, finding meaning through scriptural reference, mati, steadiness, joy, impatience, ferocity, indignation, fault finding, insolence, sleep, very sleepy, dreaming, and enlightenment, or waking up. So these are the 33 minor emotions that appear along with the Sthayi Bhava and then merge back into it. So it creates some variety within the rasa. So we have the Sthayi Bhava, like Madhurya Rasa, but then when the devotee has a relationship with Krishna in pastimes, then we get all sorts of these minor emotions appearing. So the devotees will feel some pride sometimes, or they'll feel fatigue or whatever. They may feel anger, they may become impatient, they become philosophical, they may worry, etc. So all of these different emotions arise from that Sthayi Bhava and then disappear into it. Vyabhachari bhavas can cause others. And they're a cause and the effect. So impatience can lead to chinta, which means thinking, contemplating, and this may lead to nidra, sleeping. Envy can lead to hatred, hatred can lead to disgust. So one vyabhachari leads to another, leads to another. And in material dramas, in order to make the characters realistic, they will have to show all these minor emotions. If they just keep showing anger, then everyone will think, what's this person shouting all the time? He's not really acting, he's just shouting. So a skillful actor will show all these minor variations within his emotion, whether it's a positive emotion or a negative emotion, and they'll change from one thing to another, and then he has to express that through his actions and his words. And then he's called a good actor because he can do that. So we have the inferior vyabhachari bhavas arising from an emotion not directed to Krishna, such as Arjuna's fear of the Vishwarupa, so it's not directed to Krishna, somewhere else. And superior, that which nourishes a primary rati, which means Madhurya or Shakti or whatever, or nourishing secondary rati, all in relation to Krishna. When these vyabhachari bhavas manifest inappropriately in unqualified persons, they are actually semblances or abhasas of vyabhachari bhavas. Like we have sattva bhavas and then we have the abhas, sattva bhavas. So similarly, the vyabhacharis have their abhas also. There are two types of inappropriateness: appearing in persons hostile to Krishna and being improperly credited to trees and animals. So sometimes we see the animals having ecstatic symptoms and vyabhachari bhavas, but actually animals have very simple emotional relationships, not very complex. Because human beings, we have all these 33 vyabhachari bhavas, but animals actually wouldn't have them. Sometimes, out of ecstasy, the devotees attribute it to the trees having all these emotions, or the animals. So it's imposed upon them, but it's not actually real. And of course, the demons will have vyabhachari bhavas also, but actually it's not related to Krishna at all, so therefore it's not considered to be a real, it's not bhavas. So there are stages in terms of these vyabhachari bhavas. They appear because they actually are, they're minor, so they appear, disappear. They have an appearance, they can combine with other bhavas, or conflict with other bhavas, and then they'll disappear. So they have these four stages. Appearance, like joy. When the sun turned red and Yashoda heard the sound of the flute close by, her lotus became damp with the flow of milk from her breasts. So this is joy. She has joy. And then she can say joy is one of the vyabhachari bhavas. And then, of course, that's based upon vatsalya. That's her rati. Then she gets joy when she hears the flute of Krishna. That's her vyabhachari bhava. Then the milk flows. That's her sattvika bhava. So this is the appearance. Joy is appearing suddenly. Joining. When two versions of the same bhava or two differing bhavas mix is called bhava sandhi. This child is fickle, he constantly runs inside and outside of Gokul. His fearlessness causes him to evoke joy, that's harsha, vyabhachari bhava, and apprehension, sankha, worry. So these are the two different vyabhachari bhavas joining together. Conflict. When many bhavas conflict with each other, the state is called sabalya. What can that child do? If he has killed all my friends, shall they then surrender to him? Why are they do that? I am preparing huge wrestlers to fight him. But he's lifted Govardhana with his hand. I should go to Devraja and attack him, but my heart is shaking because of him. So there's conflicting bhavas within Kamsa. disappearance. When a Baba, which has become prominent, disappears, it's called Baba Shanti. When the children of Vraja could not see Krishna, their faces withered and became pale. They began searching for Krishna in the forest. At that time, hearing the soft sound of his flute on a mountaintop, they became filled with joy with hair standing on end. So first they became pale and withered, etc., and depressed, and then when they heard the flute sound, disappeared. So that's Baba Shanti. The Devachari Baba disappears. So we have 41 chief Babas, or emotions. 33 of them are the Devachari Babas. The 7 secondary Sthai Babas, the anger, comedy, virya, vibhaksa, etc. And 1 Mukhya Sthai Baba, the devotees. So within one devotee, he can have these different Babas. The Devachari Babas, 33. The secondary Babas, and 1 Mukhya, 1 primary positive Baba. Shanta, Sakya, Vatsalya, etc. Plus the secondary ones, plus the 33. So then there's 41 chief Babas. Transformations of mind created by the appearance of these 41 Babas are said to create transformations of the body and all the senses. First we have the Baba, does something to the mind, does something to the body. So we have the Ashraya and the Vishaya, that's Krishna, and the devotee. This produces a Sthai Baba. That's 1. Then we have the 7 secondary ratis, like anger, fear, surprise, etc. And then we have the 33 Devachari Babas. So that produces Sattvika Babas and Anubhavas. So we have Sthai Baba, and either primary or secondary Devachari Babas producing Sattvika Babas and Anubhavas. And then we have the Sthai Baba to begin with. So this is all the ingredients of rasa there. There is a variety of minds of various types of devotees, like in Shanta, Dasya, etc. In accordance with the variety of minds, there are also various gradations of the appearance of Babas because of various natures. So, the Babas are going to appear differently in all people. Some will have certain Babas very strong or weak or whatever, and whatever. They're all different levels of appearance of these Babas. Even if they're the same ones, they will appear at different levels. So these are termed in this way. Even if these Babas were to appear strongly in hearts which are Garista, very heavy, Gambhira, deep, Mahishta, expansive, or Karkasa, hard in nature, ordinary people cannot perceive the Babas clearly because they would know external manifestations in terms of body and senses. So it's largely internal. That's for these people, heavy, deep, Mahishta, or Karkasa. Then they're within, they don't manifest themselves outwardly. When these Babas arise, they're slightly in hearts which are Lagyasta, which is the opposite of Garishta, the heavy one and the light one. Uttana, spread on the surface, shallow instead of deep. Kodishta, small, instead of Mahishta, very expansive. And Komala, soft, instead of Karkasha, very hard. So if a person has this mixture, any of these mixtures, then the Babas will manifest in terms of their body and senses very easily, and everyone will understand what their natures are. And so therefore people may have emotions, but we don't know what they are because they may be these types of people. And similarly in the spiritual world. Some are more mysterious or whatever, we don't know what they're doing. And then others are very, very evident what their emotions are because of their external manifestations, because their hearts are different. 3 degrees of hardness, like a thunderbolt, which is very hard, gold, which melts nicely, and lime, which is very, very liquid. Doesn't have to melt at all. Bhava is like fire in relation to these three types of hard heart. So the hardness of the heart may be like thunderbolt, bolt, or lac. Obviously lac is very melted already. Thunderbolt, very hard. Hardness of a thunderbolt is seen in the hearts of those who perform severe austerities. So in the beginning of Nectar Devotion, Rupa Goswami said, the vairagya, all this renunciation, etc., and jnana may be a little favorable in the beginning of bhakti, so we don't get too attached to material things. They said they dry up the heart. So this is what happens. The heart becomes hard by severe austerities. So even if you're a devotee, but you're attracted to austerities, then the heart is very hard and very difficult to melt it. The bhava is like the fire, and it's very difficult to cause deep emotions. Softness is of 3 degrees, like beeswax, butter, and nectar. In relation to these, bhava is like the heat of the sun. So the heart of the dearest devotees of Govinda are naturally soft like nectar. So they're always melted. They're always very, very soft. But when the principle sthāyi bhava becomes very prominent, all types of hearts become completely disturbed by vyabhachari bhavas. So even in the hard-hearted persons, if the sthāyi bhava becomes strong, then they will manifest vyabhachari bhavas of some sort. So he just ends, Goswami just ends this section by a very poetic type of description. The devotee is like the ocean. As Vishnu resides in the milk of the ocean, so the Lord resides in the heart of the devotee. As the ocean is deep or unfathomable, the heart of the devotee is inscrutable, not revealing its qualities. As the ocean is unwearied, waves keep coming in all day and night, and it never gets tired of doing that. So the devotee is continuous in his service. As the ocean is difficult to cross, but has a permanent shore, so the devotee's qualities are difficult to enumerate, but he appears to limit those qualities. But when the devotee develops full prema, he cannot prevent the transformations arising from that prema. Just as the ocean cannot prevent the rising of the tide when the moon rises from the ocean. So, this will be a description of the vyabhachari bhavas. So we can do the last section now. Fine. Okay. Now this is the sthāyi bhava. Fifth way. This will complete it. Oh, this is too long. Anyway, this way. So the sthāyi bhava, very important. That bhava which, controlling other favorable bhavas such as hasya, these are secondary bhavas, contrary bhavas such as krodha, another secondary one, preside in the manner of an efficient ruler. It's called the sthāyi bhava. So it's very, very steady in all cases. Sudha, which is actually like Shanta, Priti or Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Priyata or Madhurya. So these are the sthāyi bhavas. Just as the sun takes on various forms when reflected through crystals and other items, the rati takes on various forms when manifesting in different individuals. So, Shuddha rati, 3 types. Samanya, rati for Krishna manifests in ordinary people and children. I think the other day we had the example of people, when Krishna was going outside of Dwarka and going to another city, the people on the road would see Krishna. Very nice emotion, it was very general. They didn't have any particular rasa, not even chanta. That's called samanya. So similar in Vrindavan, ordinary people are there also. And then we have the children, so they have this samanya, which is Sudarati. Oh, old woman, see that child just 3 years old who, on seeing Krishna in front of her, is running after him and calling out. Svacha, this is the second type. When Rati manifests many varieties temporarily because the practitioner associates with various types of devotees and performs various practices, is called Svacharati, or transparent, mutable. One Brahmana, fixed on following the injunctions of Scripture, sometimes praised the Lord as master, sometimes joked with him as a friend, sometimes protected him as a son, sometimes craved him as a lover, and sometimes meditated in his heart on the Lord as Paramatma. In this way, by various modes of service, he was endowed with various inclinations of mind. So he's got all the different style levels there. And then we get the third one, Shantarati. The rati which arises in persons with predominance of Atma-jnana, which is devoid of even a trace of possessiveness of the Lord, which produces attraction for Krishna in the form of Paramatma, is called Shantarati. So it's an attraction to the Paramatma form. So examples here. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of the Lord Narayana. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. When Narada sang about the pastimes of the Lord on his Veena, Sanaka's body began to tremble, even though he was a Brahmajnani. These are the Kumaras. This is Shanta. 3 types of rati, priti, dasya, sakya, and vatsalya, are pleasing to the heart. They are permanent. They arise from deep friendliness to the Lord and are always endowed with possessiveness of the Lord. These ratis may be unmixed or pure or mixed with other ratis. Okay, priti rati. When persons identify themselves as inferior to the Lord, they are called recipients of mercy. That's the anugrahya. This priti rati produces attachment for the object of worship and destroys affection for other objects. This is basically dasya in your service, so you get the mercy of Krishna. Sakya. Those who identify themselves as equal to Mukunda are called sakas, or friends. Their rati, with familiarity arising from the sense of equality, is called sakya rati. In this rati, there's loud laughing, joking, and no sense of reserve, no restriction, very informal. Vatsalya rati. Those persons whose rati identifies them as superiors to the Lord are known as puja, worthy of respect, or elders. Their rati, which gives mercy to Krishna, is called Vatsalya, or Vatsala. In this rati, there is protecting Krishna, blessing him, kissing him, and touching him. This is parental rasa. And the final one is Priyata rati, Magriya. That rati found in the doe-eyed women, and which is the root cause of 8 types of enjoyment between the women and Krishna, is called Priyata rati. It is also called Madhura rati. In this rati, there are side glances, moving the eyebrows, affectionate words, and smiles, etc. Okay, how is attraction for a particular rati determined? Which many people keep asking, is it fixed, or how do we get that rati, vatsalya or madhurya, whatever? Impressions of only one type caused from previous lives. In other words, in previous lifetimes we have that one particular attraction of a rati, produce the specific taste. Though not being in a position to perceive the depth of that rasa, one can confirm its identity by comparing scriptural descriptions of rasas with one's own inclinations, and by inference through seeing how rasas, different from one's own rasa, either nourish or fail to nourish the total ingredients. So it comes from previous lifetimes of exposure to the same rasa, and so we develop it. Secondary ratis, when a different emotional state arises from the excellence of Krishna when it manifests, while the primary rati subdues itself, it's called a secondary rati. So these are the 7 secondary ratis. So we have hasa. When hasa and other emotions take on beautiful form by the influence of the primary rati and remain for some time, they're considered sthāyi bhavas. Without the continuous sthāyi bhava, all other bhavas such as hasya are dysfunctional. First we have to have the positive one of the 5 primary ones. Then based on that we have the 7 secondary ones. Though the secondary bhavas become sthāyi bhavas in the enemies of Krishna, they are not suitable for bhakti rasa since they are without a primary rati. So Kamsa has hatred, anger, etc., fear. They can become very primary sthāyi bhavas, but they're all secondary and there's no positive bhava. In a devotee, one of the 5 primary sthāyi bhavas and the 7 secondary bhavas together make 8 bhavas, and they produce lasting impressions, even though they may externally disappear for some time. So we saw previously that we have the 33 plus the 7 plus the 1 primary one. That was 41 or whatever bhavas. So if the impressions of the Vyabhachari bhavas disappear after they are covered by these 8, the Vyabhachari bhavas are not considered to be sthāyi bhavas. Secondary ratis: hasa, humor, astonishment, fortitude or determination or enthusiasm, lamentation, anger, fear, disgust or hatred. Hasya rati: when there's a cheerfulness of the heart from irregularity of speech, dress, or actions, is called hasa. When hasa arises from actions related to Krishna, and the primary rati assumes the subdued role, hasa becomes hasa rati. An example, Krishna said, "Oh beautiful one, I swear to you that I have not even looked at the ogre, but your bold friend is sniffing my mouth in vain. Give instructions to your friend so that she does not accuse innocent persons like me." When the yogi servant heard these words, she could not restrain her laughter. Vishmaya, surprise. On seeing something unusual, the mind may inquire, what could this be? This disposition is called Vishmaya, or wonder. In this state, the symptoms are widening of the eyes, uttering words like very good, and standing of hairs on end. When Brahma saw all the cows and cowherd boys manifest as forms of the Supreme Brahman, as Narayan forms with 4 hands wearing yellow garments and marked with Srivatsa, who were being praised by all the inhabitants of the universes, including many Brahmas, he became astonished and uttered, "What is this? What is this?" Utsaharati, enthusiasm, firm and immediate attachment of the mind to activities such as battle, charity, compassion, and dharma, whose results are praised by the saintly people, is called utsaha. When the air resounded with the sound of the flute, horn, and patra, blades of grass on the bank of the Jamuna, Sridhar, desiring to fight with Krishna, began roaring and bound up his waist firmly. This is the vira, fighting mode. Sopharati, lamentation, intense pain in the heart arising from separation from a dear one, with thoughts of the beloved as perished, is called shoka, or lamentation. In this state, wailing, falling on the ground, heavy breathing, dry in the mouth, and confusion manifests. There's an example: when the force of the dust storm and the wind subsided, Yasoda's friends, the gopis, approached Mother Yasoda, hearing her pitiful crying. Not seeing Krishna present, they too felt very much aggrieved, and joined Mother Yasoda in crying, their eyes full of tears. That's lamentation. Krodharati, anger. Flaming up the heart from encountering opposition is called krodha, or anger. In this state, rough behavior, frowning, and rending of the eyes manifests. This is a positive example. When Jatila recognized Radha's shining pearl necklace around the throat of Krishna, she frowned ferociously and glanced at Krishna in a terrifying manner. So the anger can be directed towards not just Krishna, but to a demon. When the blazing forest fire, who was actually the brother of Kamsa, surrounded Krishna, a frown of anger appeared on the forehead of Balaram, like a cloud bank in the sky. Bhaya, fear. When the heart manifests extreme unsteadiness after committing an offense or seeing fearful creatures, it is called bhaya, or fear. In this state, the attempt to hide oneself, drying up of the heart, and fleeing in confusion manifests. So Krishna made the object of fear. When Krishna asked Akura for the Shamantaka jewel in the assembly in a friendly way, Akura, who was hiding the jewel in his clothing, could not answer. He became fearful of Krishna, understanding that Krishna knew he was hiding the jewel. His mouth dried up and he became sad. So, demons is object of fear. When Vrishasura, like a storm cloud, roared in a frightening manner at the entrance of Gokul, Yasoda, thinking of the protection of his son, began to tremble. And the last one is Jugupsara, disgust. Restriction of the heart arising from experience of disgusting things is called Jugupsa, or disgust. In this state, spitting, curling the lips, and uttering contemptuous words manifest. Since my heart has become eager to play at the lotus feet of Krishna, who is the abode of ever-fresh rasa, when I think of association with women, my mouth curls up in disgust and I spit. As long as one of the 5 primary ratis, along with the 7 secondary ratis, does not attain the state of rasa in an individual, the 8 are called sthāyi bhavas, so they're separate, but then they join together, it becomes rasa. Because they are filled with the presence of Krishna, these bhavas are filled with spiritual happiness. And because even vishada, other sorrowful emotions are related to Krishna, they should be said to be filled with happiness. So we have many instances where it looks like everybody is suffering and lamenting, but actually it's part of bliss. The primary and secondary ratis produce vibhavas, anubhavas, satvika bhavas, and vibhachari bhavas through hearing, experiencing, or remembering Krishna. All these combined become rasa in the devotees. Thus, through that rasa, the devotees directly experiencing astonishing deep bliss arising from realization of Krishna and related things. So the bliss comes about through rasa, and the rasa comes about through the combination of these elements. So that's why rasa is important, because it gives rise to the bliss. Krishna and his devotees act as the causes of rati. Spontaneous actions such as paralysis and actions involving intellect are the effects of rati, that's satvika bhavas and anubhavas. Self-deprecation and other minor emotions, that's the vibhachari bhavas, are the accompanying factors. So we have the vibhava, which creates the sthāyi bhava, and the satvika bhavas, anubhavas, and vibhachari bhavas. One should not analyze the inconceivable bhavas by material logic. Those bhavas which are beyond the material realm are said to be inconceivable. This is from the Mahabharata. So we can't analyze them with our material intellect. Attractive rati, making Krishna and other things into vibhava, other elements, increases itself by these elements. So when a rasa begins, then that rati, the sthāyi bhava, increases. It is similar to the ocean, which, nourished by the clouds of water, nourishes itself by the rain coming from the clouds. So you have a circular thing. Rati reveals Krishna and things related to him as a shelter of qualities such as sweetness, and Krishna, after being experienced in that way, increases the rati. So the exchange of rasa and the devotees increases that attraction of Krishna and attraction of the devotee. Rati for Krishna is most uncommon, more blissful than the most blissful Rati for avatars. So we have Rati for the performance of the Lord, but the Rati for Krishna is the most blissful. And it takes the highest rasa in combination with the devotees. The Rati, which is superior, when you combine with the other elements in the devotee, then it becomes rasa. Okay. So the Ratis produce rasas. Though there are 5 types of primary Rati, only one is considered since only one is manifest as most prominent in an individual devotee. The one primary Rati combines with the 7 secondary Ratis to form 8 Ratis, which produce 8 rasas for one person. So 8 Ratis produce 8 rasas. So from Sudha Rati we get Shanta Rasa, from Priti Rati we get Priti Rasa or Dasya, from Sakya Rati we get Preo Rasa or Sakya Rasa, from Vatsalya Rati we get Vatsalya Rasa, from Priyata Rati we get Madhurya Rasa, when they combine with the different elements. And the secondary ones from Hasya, we get Hasya Rasa, Vishmaya Rati we get Adbhuta Rasa, from Usaha Rati we get Vira Rasa, Soka Rati we get Karuna Rasa, Krodha Rati we get Rauda Rasa, Vaya Rati we get Vayana Rasa, and Jugupsa Rati we get Vibhasa. So there's slightly different names in some cases. So, the Rati turns into a Rasa. So the Rasas also have colors. So we have white for Shanta Rasa, multicolored for Dasya, orange for Sakya, red for Vatsalya, and dark blue, or we call it Shama, for Madhurya Rasa. And for the secondary ones, light yellow Hasya, Adbhuta is green, Vira Rasa is gold, that's heroic Rasa, Kavana is purple, Rauda Rasa is red, dark red, Bhayanak is black, and Vibhasa is blue. We also get avatars for the rasas. Kapila for Shanta Rasa, Madhava, which is a form of Vishnu for Priti or Dasya, Upendra for Vamana for Sakya Rasa, Nrsimha for Vatsala, and Krishna for Madhurya Rasa. And for secondary rasas we get Balarama for Hasya, Kurma, Adbhuta Rasa, Kalki, Vira Rasa, Rama, Kaurava Rasa, I suppose because of lamenting for Sita after she got kidnapped. Parasarma, Rauda Rasa, Vraha, Bhayanak Rasa, and Meena, Matsya for Vibhasa Rasa, so the avatars. That which becomes even more intensely relished in the heart made bright with Hladini and Sambhit Shaktis, that's the Bhava stage, after surpassing the stage of distinguishing the constituent Bhavas, and which becomes more astonishing and bliss than Bhava, is called Rasa. So the Bhava or the Sthayi Bhava combines with the other elements, and then it becomes Rasa, like that. Okay, Vibhava, Anubhava, Sadhika Bhava, Vichari Bhava, and Sthayi Bhava produce Rasa, by the way. Okay, Hare Krishna. I think we're over time here. Any questions?
Just one quick question. Guru Goswami's been very micro-analysis of all these rasas. So this is based on sort of scriptural evidence or his own observation?
Well, one of course is we have the material rasas of Bharat Muni, so it follows the same thing, the same components are there. Vibhava, Anubhava, Satvika Bhava, Vyabhachara Bhava, and even the same list, 33 Vyabhachari Bhavas are very common in material rasa. So when they do acting, or in traditional Vedic thing, or even Bharatanatyam, they'll study the 33 Vyabhachari Bhavas and how to express those through your glances and your actions, doubt, contemplation, whatever, they'll study all these things. Satvika Bhavas, again, they'll study them all. So we can say it's a counterpart a spiritual rasa. So everything in the material world is a reflection of what's in the spiritual world. So taking the material rasas, he just said that's a reflection of the spiritual rasas. Then he's done that, and then he showed through, by quoting from Bhagavatam, how the those different things are there, either the Vyabhachari bhavas or Satvika bhavas or Anubhavas, etc.
There's one book written, Emotional Intelligence, and they're wiring people up, their brain and subjecting them to different stimulus and analysing the brain waves and trying to get those microbes sort of emotions.
Oh, see where they're coming from.
What it all means.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, it's very interesting.
Hare Krishna. So the Bhavas, they come after you have seen Krishna face to face, basically, in a sense.
Yeah, in the Bhava stage, you first see Krishna, and that's where the Sthayi Bhava develops, and then from that we get the rasa, ultimately.
And this comes through like through sadhana, through
Yeah, through sadhana.
100% meditating remembrance of Krishna, and
Yeah.
that cultivates the mind, and Shri Krishna appears and finds manifest.
So generally it's through sadhana. We go through sadhana, and then get to bhava, then it manifests. Or in rare cases, we may get some kripa on the way. We skip a little few stages, and then we get to bhava. So bhava means you have the sthayi bhava can only exist if we have devotee and Krishna. And the asraya visha, the vibhava has to be there for the sthayi bhava to exist. So we don't know Krishna, we don't see him, how can we have the sthayi bhava manifest? So the appearance of Krishna and the sthayi bhava go together in bhava stage. But in bhava stage it's not perfect, so the rasa is not really complete because all the sthayi bhava, the sattvica bhavas don't manifest fully. The relationship is still a little weak. When you get to prema, then it becomes full of possessiveness and strong. And then all the different elements manifest properly, and then we get rasa in its full manifestation. So it's like a flower partially opening and fully open.